Always wonder how you say we have no free will. I understand we don't understand Christianity, but reality. I'll make a video about it soon, but it's very simple. Everything you do is determined by physical laws. Like every thought you have is determined by brain chemistry that you don't control. And in my view, there is no me. In my view, there is no self. Right? The self is just an identity that we produce in our minds. It's a conceptual thing. But every atom, every element, every molecule in my body, every cell is determined to behave certain ways physically. That there's no control here. There's nothing, I don't control anything about me freely. Everything I'm doing is just that. Even me talking to you right now, even me waving my hand in front of you, was determined to happen. I didn't choose it freely. Everything we're doing is a product of chemistry and physics and the laws of nature. And it seems like we have free will, but that's an illusion. Right? Because consciousness is an emergent property. And it feels like we're doing what we are freely because we are conscious of what we're doing. We're conscious of it. That's why it feels like and we have the notion that there's a present moment and that there's no past or future, when that's false. We now know, because of relativity, that there is a future and a past that already exist. They still exist right now. The future already happened, and the past is still here. Okay? So, when you understand that, you realize that there is no present moment. That's absolute. We're not moving into the future. That's an illusion. The passage of time is an illusion, as Einstein said. Can you make a video explain that future is determined? Yes, I will make a video. I got it. I have so much work to do, but yes, I'll have to make one. I'll make a video about the block universe and time. Yeah. What will happen when you die? You rot away. He won't engage with my hard questions because he's determined to stick with subjective morality. Well, convince me of objective ethics. Go ahead, convince me that there's objective ethics. That it's objectively wrong to, steal. Go ahead, show me that. Why do we get up and learn what we do our best? Because we do what we do. Yeah, everything we do is determined. It doesn't change anything about me, right? And I talk about this in my book. Nothing changes just because we don't have free will. Nothing about me changes. Do you think it could be argued that taking life of all newborns is morally right? No. But again, just because I think it's always wrong doesn't mean it's objective. Objectivity means beyond stances. And it's my stance that it's always wrong to kill a newborn. That's my stance. No, that's not objective. This is why you're confused. Objectivity does not mean always. It means stance independent. It means beyond what anybody thinks or feels or has an opinion on, this thing is always correct. That there's some law of nature, some platonic thing that shows us that this is wrong. That's not what I believe. That's not morality to me. Just because we're determined does not mean we don't make decisions. Yeah, exactly. We make decisions. They're just determined, right? People forget this. They don't understand these concepts. It's too hard for them, I guess. What if somebody is fully convinced doing it is fine? Well, that's their fault. That's their problem, not my problem. I think they're wrong. I don't have to agree with them just because they have an opinion. Like, what? Is time a fundamental aspect, or is it a human construct? Well, time is a fundamental aspect, it seems. Time is a dimension of the universe. Now, is the passage of time, the ticking of time, the seconds we're experiencing right now, we feel like that's not real. That's an illusion brought about by the brain and how the brain the brain operates physically. But time itself, the notion that there is a moment or a moment in the universe, that's real. What is the purpose of morality? To work together. It helped our evolution. Helped us work together. Still does. Time is an illusion. No, it's real. The point I'll make a video about this, but on my YouTube. So everybody go subscribe to my YouTube and check out that. Just anticipate the video coming up soon. But yeah, time. There is an aspect of reality that necessitates time. Time is required because you can imagine time and space being the same thing, just two different versions of the same thing. They're just coordinates in this 4-dimensional block. So is time different than logic, or are they both descriptive? So when you say time, that's ambiguous. What do you mean by time? Do you mean the passage of time, or do you mean time as a dimension, right? You have to be more particular here. But yes, time as the ticking of of time, right? A lapsing of time, that's descriptive, yes. But time itself is a real thing. Do I believe in God? No, I don't know what that is. I don't know what God is. It's just a word. If all somebody knows is what they fully believe, why are we right and they're wrong? Because their belief entails either inconsistencies or falsehoods. How do we know this? Because we can verify it based on looking and comparing and contrasting these things to reality. Observations. That's what science does, right? Science is about investigating things through experiment. It's about testing things. If you believe there's no free will, does it excuse all crime? No. Just because we're determined to do things doesn't mean we shouldn't be punished. Right? If I made robots and the robots were programmed, they were determined to, go around and shoot at people. Well, would we just sit there and say, oh, we can't stop the robots, they were determined? No, we would stop the robots because we want those bad actions to stop. So no matter if we're determined or not, we're still doing these bad actions and they still should be punished. Now, you can argue that, maybe responsibility, giving them absolute responsibility is a little bit ridiculous, but it's irrelevant. All that stuff is the fluff. The point is, bad actions still deserve to be punished no matter where we live. Mike's first L. The fact that we make choices means we have free will. Doesn't matter if it's determined. No, making a choice does not mean that was a free choice, right? If if uh if if you were standing in front of a table with your arms out and you had two options in front of you, and there was somebody behind you pushing you to choose the object A instead of object B, well, that was a forced option. You chose that option A, but it was forced, right? The point is that a choice is just enacting something, and those actions are determined. This is really basic stuff. There's no such thing as bad. Do you agree? No. I. Why would I agree with that? You guys are asking weird questions tonight. You could still choose B. No, you're forced to choose A. You were forced to choose A. He pushed you there. Mike, about 1 year ago, you made me atheist. Thank you. Awesome. Keep thinking. Stay skeptical. I'm not here to make you an atheist. I'm here to make you think. Right? It's a vast difference. I'm not here to say that you should be an atheist. I'm here to say that you should think. Use your brain. But yes, typically when you use your brain enough, you typically are led to the conclusion that God is unlikely. But good for you. Can you be a believer that thinks? Yeah, of course, but not critically. Not sufficiently critically. You made me vegan? Awesome. Good for you. Do any studies back your free will claim? Yeah, there's a few neuroscientific studies. Sam Harris is a neuroscientist. He doesn't agree with free will. Daniel Dennett. A lot of neuroscientists and philosophers agree. Is it possible to get to free will? I don't know how you'd have free will. Debate with IP. Yeah, he's a complete I mean, sure, I'll debate him, but he's not very intelligent. I'll tell you that. He thinks science was discovered through the Bible. How come some scientists be super logical but turn it off for religion? Yeah, it's just one of those things that humans do. Personal issues, personal beliefs, personal motives. Maybe they do it for educational reasons, or he's saying that you're religious makes you seem like a better person on your resume or things like that, right? Like, there could be different motives for that. Also, maybe they just haven't thought about it enough. They think they have this thought that perhaps God and religion, or religion and science, are compatible, and they just say, oh well, any contradictions are just excused by saying God has a reason, right? So it's easy to do that, right? Get lost in this excuse game where you just say, oh, everything I don't understand in the Bible, God has a reason, or he could do it, he's God. Right? That's something it's easy to succumb to. Just making excuses. And that's literally what theists do most of the time. They're just making excuses. That's why they're called apologists, because they're apologizing for their terrible logic. And they're trying to make excuses as to why this God could exist. And that's the wrong way to do it, right? Science works bottom up. You start from scratch and you work your way up to knowledge. Whereas theists start with God and they try to work their way down by making excuses for everything they observe. They're trying to squeeze everything into this narrative. So, I'm trying to make Mike think out of his comfort zone. Go ahead. You're not doing anything. You're just saying stuff that I already have debunked. Do you agree with the purpose of morality, quality of life, to thrive and survive? No, there's more than just that. Right? Morality is a very complex thing. Many factors go into setting up an ethical framework. Evaluating the consequences of the actions. Like you said, thriving and quality of life and the future consequences, right? Looking back in retrospect, there's many adaptations you need to make in your ethical framework. You have to allow for that. There's a lot of things that can influence ethical positions. Would you be disappointed if God did exist? No, I don't care. I just want to know the truth. I don't know what God is. Maybe when people say, what would you say to God? I don't know what God is. What do you mean by God? Right? That's like me saying, what would you do if Snuffleupagus existed? Well, what's that? What's Snuffleupagus? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? So saying, what would you do if God existed? That doesn't do anything to me. So I don't know what you're talking about. The creator. There we go. Now you're saying creator. What's that mean? What's a creator mean? What do you mean by that? How do you create something? What do you mean by creation? Ex materia? Ex nihilo? What does this creator look like? What does it do? What is it made of? Well, all these questions arise, and you can't answer them. You can't just say a word and expect us to just go, yep, okay, I understand. Right? It's much more nuanced than you're making it out to be. And this is one of the biggest problems with theism. It just makes so many vague assumptions. All right. Do you think people who claim to hear God talk to them are hearing voices? Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not that they're hearing voices. It's that people will often dream or think of something that they'll have a subconscious thought, right? And they'll attribute that to God. Oh, when I read the Bible, if you notice, a lot of people say that all the time. When I read the Bible, God spoke to me, and most of the time that really means that they saw a verse that subconsciously they felt something about, and they attribute that feeling to God, right? So yeah, to me, when people say I hear God or God speaks to me, that's just them being confused as to what the subconscious is. Or, they'll see symbols that they were thinking of, right? And they'll attribute that to God. Oh, I saw the number 1 or 1111. Oh, that must be God, right? And that's often because we have a very profound pattern recognition system in the brain. We evolved to seek patterns. That's what we do. We are pattern recognizing machines. So when you find patterns in things, when you have subconscious thoughts that make you feel good, right? These things will give you the feeling that there's somebody doing it, that there's some greater purpose behind these things. It's just how our brains work. People don't realize how complex the brain is. Would you rather live in a world without religion? No, I would rather live in a world where people critically thought about their religions that they believed in. Religion is a fantastic thing in many regards. It's creative. It brings out good music, good poetry. It brings out imagination. It's a great thing. But the problem arises when people don't think about it critically enough. When they just take these things word for word, they don't think, and they try to use them as vehicles for specific motives, or they try to use their religions as a political weapon. That's the problem. That's when the problem arises. Religion inherently is not a bad thing. And I also talk about this in my book. That religion's a great thing, but the problem is that it can be biased. Hey Kaylee, how are you? Nice to see you. Does it bring good morals in a lot of regards? Well, maybe, but typically people think that you can only get morality from religion, or that religion has some kind of authority on morality, or that religious morality predates any other morality. No, that's wrong. Sure, there are good things about Christianity, there's good things about Islam, but I don't need those things to not only do I not need those books to have a good ethical framework, but they're inconsistent. And I have a whole video on my YouTube talking about theistic morality and the flaws in it. It's inconsistent. It leaves room for errors. It doesn't adapt to changing conditions. It's a very primitive form of ethics. But, albeit ethics, it's still primitive. Why is the majority of people religious? Well, number one, it's tradition. We've had it for so long, thousands of years, that it's been passed down to us, generations. But also, religion gives us structure. It makes you feel like you have structure, right? Like, oh, you pray 5 times a day. You're going through something bad. You talk to God about it. He'll save you. You pray, and He'll redeem you. There's a purpose to my life because I get to go somewhere by obeying this master. And when you're a slave, you have structure, of course. But that's what religion is to me. It's slavery in many regards. So sure, religion can offer those things, but it doesn't, to me, do it in a good way. But religion, for most people, is something easy. That's why they believe it. It's something easy. It's something that gives you quick answers, quick structure, and quick feel good. Right? And that's what it is. It's a quick, easy way out. But for the skeptical among us, the ones who want to know more about reality, who are asking the bigger questions, they're gonna leave the bubble. They're gonna question the bubble. They're gonna pop the bubble. And that's who we are. So, yeah, it's Is AI going to destroy humans? Well, what do you mean by destroy? Do you mean harm us? No, not going to harm us. But will it render us unnecessary? Yes. In many ways, in many ways, AI is already making many aspects of our lives unnecessary and redundant. And it's only going to increase as time goes on. AI will slowly, as it increases, replace human jobs. And you can see this as a bad thing, or you can see this as a bad thing or a good thing. But the point is that AI has the ability to make us irrelevant. I see it as a good thing. I see it as evolution. Right? I see AI as the next step, the next evolution to a more prosperous world, and there's nothing. Humans think we're special. That we are the ones that will never die. There's something about us that is different from every other species, every other living being, every other time period. No, we are living in a temporary moment, and it'll go away. Things will change. So the only reason why there's angst against AI is because we feel so attached to our current state of affairs, and we're scared of change. But no, you shouldn't be scared of change. It's good. Change is needed. And the future looks bright if AI focuses on the truth and the facts and science. Do you think it's too late for us, Mike, since we messed up the world so much? Well, we have messed up the world in many ways, but the world has a way of being resilient. The world is a powerful thing. It's a big thing. It's a big rock, and it's probably not going to go away anytime soon. But the thing we've messed up the most is our lives, our structured society. That's what will be messed up, right? And of course, in the process, environmentally speaking, many things have gone wrong. But for the most part, the Earth isn't going to go away. The world is not going to just explode, or we're not going to cause the Earth to go away. But we will cause lots of harm and suffering. But we will survive long term. We will. I don't think we're going to go extinct as a living population. I think that we will continue, whatever in that form it is, but we will continue. It's just things will be different. You know? Mike, can AI be conscious? I think so. I think that it could be conscious. I think not currently today, but I think in the future there will be some digital form of consciousness that will compare to ours. We are biologically conscious. Our consciousness works through bioelectricity. Neurons produce energy in the form of electrons, and these electrons are exchanged through ion channels in our neurons, synapses, and that process yields this experience we call consciousness. But if you can find a way to replicate that process digitally, mechanically, well, that's consciousness still. Just a different experience. Right? It'll be a different form of experience. It won't be a biological one, but it will be a mechanical one. And whatever that is will be interesting to see. But I think it's possible. Because after all, the same laws of physics that guide our consciousness are the same laws of physics that guide anything else in the universe. There's nothing special about consciousness. So this mystery, this mystic notion that there's something supernatural about consciousness, I think that's misguided. I think that there's nothing mystical about consciousness. It's just not very well understood yet. But as we learn more about it, we'll be able to replicate it, in my view. And that's amazing. That's just amazing to recognize, right? That one day consciousness can be translated into other forms. And that's something interesting to imagine. That one day robots could be conscious. That's amazing. If it's possible, that's amazing. No debates tonight. I'm too tired for debates. Does language shape our thoughts, or do thoughts shape language? Well, both are languages. Shapes are languages. Symbols are languages. That's how we think, right? A language is just how neurons operate in the brain. And certain parts of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex, generates language. They generate these thoughts that we use to describe the world. That's all language means. And that's what our brain produces. The brain produces logic and shapes and symbols and math in the form of electrochemical signals. And that's amazing. Why hasn't the universe produced anything more intelligent than us in so many years that we know about? Well, the universe is much bigger than you can imagine. Like, the universe is massive. The known universe. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all the beaches of the earth combined. There's 10 to the 26 stars. Okay, that's a lot of stars. The universe is 90 billion light years across. That's the diameter that we can measure. So there are countless possibilities for what could be out there, but who says that we can, if there's aliens out there, that we would be able to see them? Maybe an alien out there that's so super intelligent we wouldn't be able to recognize because we'd be too dumb to recognize it, right? Like kind of like an ant in a laboratory, right? Imagine an ant crawling on top of a supercomputer or a super collider. Well, the ant has no understanding of what a supercomputer is. It's just walking upon it. It thinks it's part of its environment. So maybe we're like the ant. Maybe we are just walking upon this alien infrastructure that we can't comprehend and we think it's part of our nature. But we're walking through it. And we would have no ability to even comprehend what that alien would be. And kind of like zoo members. Right? Kind of like being in a zoo. It's possible, right? So typically humans want to think, again, this is part of our hubris, to think that we are so smart and that we are and if there's aliens out there, we must be able to talk to them. No. Not at all. There's a lot of amazing possibilities for the world. People don't recognize how vast and expansive the universe is and how big it is and how many things are possible. And that's why I try so hard in my TikToks to make you guys think and recognize this amazing fact. That there's an entire universe out there waiting to be discovered. Right? Like the world is much more than just our lives, right? There's just a lot more out there and that's what I'm after. I'm after the big ideas, man. I want to go to space. I want to travel. I want to learn things, right? I want to go through wormholes and black holes, and that stuff's amazing, and that's, we deserve to be there. So let's learn about it. Let's discover. Let's aim for those things. Let's have some big goals, right? If we all crave purpose, right? You go, what's our purpose? Why are we here? What's the reason? Oh, I'm a nihilist. Well, why not make our own purpose? Why not do something fantastic? Why not do something that nobody's ever done? Let's go to the moon. Let's go to the Mars. Let's go to Mars. Let's go to Venus. Let's explore the world, man. You know, so but if we keep our heads in the sand, we just look down all the time, we're never going to look up. We're never going to look at these opportunities. So that's why I strive so hard to bring these big ideas to people. Because it makes the world a better place. When you increase your goals, when you make your goals bigger, the world becomes a much bigger place. And I would argue a better place. Because Because when you have a bigger, when you have big goals, right? These small little petty things, these arguments, these things seem ridiculous to you, right? When you have a cosmic perspective, these silly fights and wars and politics, that's all dwarfed, right, by this bigger picture. And you have a more humble perspective, a more pure perspective of your place in the universe, right? Instead of thinking that you're the only one and that we're the main characters and that everything revolves around me, and right, that's a very selfish perspective, and one that is aimed towards the stars is way less selfish, way more selfless. What is the best evidence for God? There is no evidence for God. Can't you use the alien analogy for God? No, because God's ill-defined. What do you mean by God? God's just a word. It's just a word. You know, it depends on how you define God. If your version of God is a bottle, oh, there you go. I just proved God. He's there. There it is. There's God. Like, it's just a word. What do you mean by God? And so far, every definition of God I've heard is inconsistent or doesn't make sense. The Abrahamic God, that's ill-defined too. There is no God that is defined properly. There's always omniscient, there's always omni-paradoxes or issues with the notion of an omni-being. What's omnipotence mean? Right? What do you mean by omnipotence? It can do everything. Well, can it kill itself? Can it commit suicide? Can it create a rock so heavy it can't lift? Oh no, it can't do that. It can only do things that are logical. Okay. Can it sin? That's logical. Oh no, it can't do that. It doesn't sin. Okay, so then what does it do? Oh, it does everything that it can do. Okay, so can I, right? So the point is that when you speak of these words, omnipotence, omniscience, omnibenevolence, these are very, very like ambiguous words and not very well defined. So that's why I can't make sense of a God, because you're kind of just making up definitions that don't work. He's flawless. Sin is flawed. That's your definition. You made it up. Why? Maybe sin is not flawed. Maybe sin's perfect. Why is it that your God is always the good one? Why is it never the bad one? Why is perfection always good, and why can't it be a perfectly evil being? Right? Look at how many problems arise when you define these words into existence. It doesn't make sense. Do I believe in life on other planets? Yeah, I believe they're possible. Life is just a chemical process. That's all we are, guys. But most people are very arrogant in thinking that our life is special, right? Or that humans are the only ones, or that it's unlikely to be life anywhere else. We are rare. We are special. No, I think that the universe is teeming with life on all kinds of shapes and forms and mediums. How will AI surpass us? Every way, in every way imaginable. They'll be more conscious. They'll be more alive. They'll be more smarter. They'll be less emotional. Why are you vegan? Why are you not vegan? That's the bigger question. There's no reason to harm animals. You don't gotta harm them. More conscious? Yeah, hell yeah. There's different degrees of consciousness. I'm more conscious than a baby. Right? A baby's conscious, but I'm more conscious. I have more awareness. I have more awareness than a dolphin. A dolphin has more awareness than a bug. A bug has more awareness than a cell, right? Like, there's different degrees of consciousness. So you can imagine a step above us. Maybe there's a being who's even more conscious than us. They have more awareness of their reality. So, again, this is another arrogant thing to think that we are the pinnacle of a consciousness, that we are the top of the line, that we are the peak conscious. No. We humans are so arrogant. We're so hubristic. It seems our conscious is the max. First of all, the odds of that happening is very small. What are the odds that we are the max conscious beings? No. It's possible. It's very possible that there's other beings that are more conscious than we. We're such arrogant beings. And that's another beautiful part of being having a scientific perspective. You're way less arrogant because you concede that you don't know things. You concede to a much bigger reality that has more possibilities and more power than you can imagine. Right? And when you're a theist, you're very arrogant because you think that, oh, we're the top of the line. We are the most amazing beings. We're humans. God designed the world for us. We're the chosen ones. And science has a way of exposing the arrogance that we intuitively have. An afterlife, and another arrogant theistic notion, the afterlife. That, oh, we are the ones who get an afterlife. Well, life can't be this temporary thing, and it must be that we get an afterlife. It must be. There's no way we can just die. We have to have an afterlife, right? We are owed it. We deserve it. We deserve justice. Look at all these things that you guys expect and think you deserve as a theist. Look how arrogant that is. Who do you think robots will be more self-aware? Yes. I think that awareness could be much more higher given more neural connections, more synapses. Guys, consciousness is just a function of certain systems in the brain. Human beings have about 80 billion neurons in your brain and about 60 trillion synapses. We have more neurons than any other animal. Well, per body size. I mean, elephants have more neurons, but they have much bigger bodies. Our brains are more folded, they're more tightly packed, they have more tight connections and more folding. And this is what makes us humans. But the point is that if you have more of these synapses and these different parameters more tightly packed and more stronger connections, you can have stronger consciousness. It's just hard to fathom. I agree it's hard to fathom it, but it's It's theoretically very possible that there would be more conscious beings than we. When they say look at the trees, I say look at the stars. Yeah. Would I like there to be an afterlife? I don't know what an afterlife is. I don't know what it means. And most versions of afterlife that I've heard from theists is, to me, hell. It's, to me, a bad place to be. I don't want to live in a place where I'm just a slave to God, praising Him forever. And la, 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 everybody holding hands, kumbaya. That, to me, is not life. That's death, to me. That's eternal death. Life is something, to me, when you have ups and downs, challenges, and obstacles to face, and things to learn and explore, and that's life, to me. And that's something that I would never trade or never want to get rid of for a happy, blissful state of eternity. That seems terrible to me. And it seems to be that in eternity will get boring after a while, especially after 20 billion trillion years. Look, guys, everybody's so focused on the afterlife, but the life now is enough. The now life is enough for me. See, your scope of reality is small if you're thinking of an afterlife, because you're looking around you going, this is all there is? Oh no, this is all there is. I need an afterlife. But when you widen your scope, when you learn more, you recognize that the world around you is enough. There's so much to do here. And there are so many things to learn. And there's a much more expansive reality than you thought there was. So when people tell me, hey, Mike, are you scared of not going to heaven? I don't. To me, heaven is something that's petty and small and weak. To me, this is heaven. The present moment, the now life is my heaven. And that's enough for me. There's so many people to talk to. There's so much to do here. Not just in space, but even on the earth, there's so much to do. So many people to meet, so many things to explore, so many places to travel to, so many relationships to make, so many people to help, so many friends to have, so many resources to look at, to understand and take. So many things to do and so much to explore. I mean, how could you think that this is this is not enough? That there must be something more. Why? I'm very content. Right. It kind of like is when a theist saying to an atheist like me, aren't you scared of not going to heaven? That's like going up to somebody who has just eaten a meal and they're very satisfied and you're giving them more food. You want more food, mate? You want more food? Come on. They're like, no, I'm satisfied. I'm good. I'm satisfied. You're like, the theist is like, no, have some more. Don't you want more? Aren't you scared of not having more? No, I have enough. Life now is enough. And wanting more than this, I think, is redundant. And let alone the fact that what you're giving me is something that I don't even need. You're just giving me, what, like a couple crumbs? When there's an entire plate to have around you. So, yeah, that's my view on that. Does punishing AI make sense to you? Yeah, if AI is doing something wrong, yes. Why do we have self-awareness? Why couldn't we just have been conscious beings without this layer? What do you mean? Yeah, consciousness, in terms of degrees of consciousness, or in terms of quantifying it, that is something that's challenging to do. We don't have a very good understanding of how to do that. How do we quantify consciousness in terms of like an objective, measuring device? How do you measure consciousness in any objective way? But I can say that self-awareness seems to be something that even the most primitive types of animals have. So it seems to be something very easy to arrive to. It doesn't seem like consciousness had to be some kind of special fanatical thing. I think that it's easy to produce. But in terms of degrees of consciousness, yes, I think that we have the highest degree of consciousness amongst any other being on the earth. But what if we could have baby AIs? Well, in the future, robots will be able to replicate. Imagine having a robot that has the intelligence to produce its own materials to make a new robot. That's replication. That's life. That is quite literally life. A standalone being who is able to absorb resources from its environment and produce and replicate itself. That's life. That is what life is. I mean, it's not completely the same as or identical to a biological life, but it's very, very similar. Life will be that way. No soul. You don't have a soul either. There's no such thing as a soul. Where's the soul? Where is it? Where is it? Where is your soul? Thank you, Bad Kitten, for the rose. Thank you. Where's your soul? I don't see it. People confuse soul for consciousness. They think that there's some kind of energy that generates consciousness. It doesn't. There's no special energy. There's no special mystical force that makes you alive or conscious. It's just chemistry. So hopefully you guys have all subscribed to my YouTube. I want to make a video on time and then black holes. So I want to talk about black holes and explain those and how those work and what could happen inside them. And I think that will be exciting to see. So I'm pretty tired now, so love your thoughts. Thank you. Me too. Yeah. All my life I've kind of felt isolated because people don't really think like I do. And people don't see the world like I do. And that when I was a kid, I was super excited to learn about the world and super intrigued by things, as I still am today. But people that I grew up with and friends, they didn't have the same attitude, and that kind of discouraged me in a way. But TikTok has a way of putting me with people that think similarly. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad to know that there are people out there that think like I do. And I didn't actually really know that there were people like that until I came to social media. So to me, that's why I guess I like it. 'Cause it exposes me to great people. And something to be grateful for.